The UFC returns to Atlanta, Georgia for the first time since 2019 this weekend, with a battle of top 10 welterweights where former champion Kamaru Usman faces off against surging contender Joaquin Buckley. Kamaru Usman is widely considered the second greatest welterweight in UFC history. He went 9-0 to start his UFC career before capturing the welterweight title over Tyron Woodley at UFC 235. He went on to make 5 successful defences of that title over the likes of Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal. However, the tables have turned for the Nigerian Nightmare after suffering a head kick loss to Leon Edwards at UFC 276. He's gone on to lose 2 more, a third fight against Leon Edwards and a short notice opportunity against Khamzat Chimaev up at the middleweight division. Joaquin Buckley has been a revelation in the welterweight division. He was a run-of-the-mill contender at 185 where he would alternate wins and losses and was stopped in big fights, but since moving down to 170 he's gone 6-0 in the division, and 2024 really was a breakout year for Numancer with big wins over the likes of Vicente Luque, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and last time out against Colby Covington. When we look at this fight and we break down the matchup, it kind of feels like the outcome of this fight depends on how much Kamaru Usman has left in the tank. I think most fans would agree that prime versus prime, Usman will probably get over the line and beat Buckley in this fight. But how much does the former champion have left at 38? He's certainly slowed in some capacities in these last couple of fights, and it was kind of unthinkable that Kamaru Usman would go on a 3-fight losing streak when he was the dominant force at the top of 170. It's going to be really interesting to see how he bounces back from this 3-fight losing streak, and if this is just a kind of minor blip, or if this is a larger issue and Kamaru Usman is really at the tail end of his run in the welterweight division. If there's anybody who's going to bring the fight out of somebody, it certainly is Joaquin Buckley. You know, he's an aggressive power puncher who comes forward and looks to land big shots and kind of take you out with every punch or kick that he throws. Extremely athletic after the knockout of the year over Impa Kasanganay a couple of years ago. That was evident in that fight. But I feel like his patience and his shot selection has gotten a lot better over this last couple of fights, and particularly in that Colby Covington fight where he really chose his opportunities very well in order to get the former title challenger out of there late into the 3rd round. So it's going to be really interesting to see the adjustments that Buckley makes as he goes into the biggest fight of his career. It feels like Kamaru Usman's greatest path to victory in this fight would be to wrestle and to try and wear on the younger man and try and sap some of Buckley's gas tank. However, there's been long-time rumours of injuries plaguing Usman, particularly knee injuries, which is going to be difficult for him to wrestle. And the layoff certainly won't help, and the lack of activity, especially when you compare that to Buckley's great run of form throughout 2024. For me, all signs kind of point to Joaquin Buckley getting the biggest win of his career and getting a win over Kamaru Usman in this weekend's main event. I do anticipate this going 5 rounds, and I do think both guys will show a degree of toughness in there, particularly Usman, who will have a lot of veteran savvy in order to keep himself safe as these rounds go on. But I do anticipate Joaquin Buckley to get over the line in the UFC Atlanta main event and get the biggest win of his career over Kamaru. There's a bit of a logjam at the top of 170 at the moment, with multiple guys claiming their shot next for new champion Jack Della Maddalena. But I think if Joaquin Buckley wins on Saturday night, I think you have to run back the Ian Gary fight. That was a fight that was previously matched for last December, and there's been a comical, jovial kind of rivalry between the two. We saw the pair kind of have a brief face-off at UFC Kansas City, and I feel like that would be the best next fight for both of those guys in a kind of quasi-title eliminator to kind of, again, beat another young guy on the come-up and really stamp their claim as the next guy in line for the belt.